Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, the final film in the original trilogy. I'm almost done with this series. It's so close to the very end, right before we get to Last Jedi. So, in this film, the Galactic Empire is constructing a second Death Star in order to crush the Rebel Alliance once and for all. Since the Emperor plans to personally oversee its final stages of its construction, the Rebel fleet launches a full-scale attack on the Death Star in order to prevent its completion and to kill the Emperor, which would effectively bring an end to the Empire's hold over the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker, who is now a Jedi Knight, struggles to bring Darth Vader back to the light side of the Force. Hello, and welcome to Exploring Cinema. Let's get on to the review. Yeah, sorry about that. It had been a while since I'd done that in any of my reviews, let alone a Star Wars review, and it makes sense that I would mess up. Sorry about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, for this film, I hadn't watched it before in a critiquing sort of way, so after rewatching it recently, I've realized that Return of the Jedi has quite a few flaws. And I know that this is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars film, but I think that you'll understand when I actually give my opinions. The original cast, yet again, reprises all of their roles, so there's not really much to talk about there, except that all of them do fine, with Mark Hamill being a slightly different version of himself, because this time he's playing a much darker Luke. He's more badass, and seems to be more willing to, you know, use more aggressive means to accomplish his goals. Like, when we first see him, he uses Force Choke ability, which is a normally dark side power.
Did you really just say normally dark side power?
Yes, I'll take broken English for 500.
This is a normally dark side power.
You gonna judge me?
Yes. I judge because I love you.
I love you too. Jedi is also the first time that we see Ian McDiarmid actually portray the Emperor. For those of you who grew up without having seen the original cuts, or even the later remastered version, in the digital remastered version of Empire, Ian McDiarmid does play the Emperor, but that was because the original Emperor looked a bit weird and dated. So, and plus, it was a different actor, so they added that in. But this is the actual first time that Ian McDiarmid played the Emperor, and he's fucking good in this role. He was just so menacing and disturbing, and it was not just because of the makeup, it was also the voice that he crafted, the way that he walked. Everything about him screams terror.
Terror. Do it.
Do it.
Terror.
From just the point of view of the story, I'm honestly surprised I had so many issues with it. First off, the creation of a second Death Star. It's kind of counterintuitive, I mean, isn't it? I mean, why create the thing that was destroyed in such a humiliating way? And not only that, instead of being like a really tiny hole that could be missed by anybody, it felt so much easier to destroy this version, so I really don't understand what they were doing with that. Now, I know that in the new canon, they've actually given a bit more explanation for why they actually made a new one, but I'm judging this as a film, especially because that was not something that was thought up back in 1983 or whenever this. I know that this came out in '83, but I don't know when it was actually developed. I also have to say one thing about Jabba the Hutt. Now, before I do know that I actually love the character, I think that he is a great character. However, Jabba the Hutt was not a lizard in the original cut of Star Wars. He was human! So, to me, it will never make sense that the character was turned into a fat, kinky lizard. We also get the Ewoks, you know, those tiny little adorable bears that are just, well, extremely adorable. Of course, I won't lie. As much as I love them, they make no sense as far as what they are to the plot. They accomplish things that that make no sense for a primitive species such as them. There's a lot of expositional dialogue throughout this film, and you guys know that I really don't care about exposition through dialogue, and it just felt unnatural. And it got to the point where it was just as though the film was repeating itself. over and over again, repeating the same points in the dialogue just so that the audience could be reminded, hey, what's going on? And it happens so much that it actually takes me out of the film. And it even made pacing in certain parts of the first act seem very choppy and rushed. But despite that, we still get a good bit of really good dialogue. Even stuff that's pretty memorable. I mean, hell, one of the best lines ever uttered in a movie is my title. I don't know why I pointed up. I should know that the title's below me. I'm an idiot.
It'll change eventually, and then people will be looking at you like, dude, this video's so dated. Don't you know that it's above now? But didn't it used to be above? Shh. People liked it when it was above.
Certain things in the film are revealed to the characters. They don't react like you'd think that a person would. It's as though they're just glanced over whatever it is, and it really doesn't matter when quite a bit of it actually should matter. In the middle of the second act, the film just stops dead in its tracks and goes through a sequence of scenes that, if you took most of it out, the movie would flow better, because honestly, in the end, it's really pointless. As for the visual and practical effects, a lot of the effects still look great today. I'll give you a couple examples, but I will say that my absolute favorite is the stop motion for the Rancor. Still looks amazing to this day. And the visuals and the editing for the land speeder chase on Endor still looks great, and I still have a lot of fun with it, but there's a caveat to that. A lot of the shots definitely do not hold up, and I'm not saying that because I'm comparing the shots to modern cinema. No, 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 no. It's because Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, the two films that preceded this one, did it so much better. We do, however, get one of the greatest space battles in cinema in the third act. While I do think that the space battle in Rogue One is superior due to updated visual sound design and a very inventive cinematography, I absolutely love the battle in Return of the Jedi, no complaints. Blue and green screen effects are more utilized in this film, and because they weren't used too much and they were used sparingly throughout the other films, it's not very noticeable. But it is actually very noticeable in this one because some of it's just extremely dated. And honestly, I think this is, I think that was foreshadowing what we would get years later in The Phantom Menace. While the lightsaber battle is definitely not the most extravagant, or even as extravagant as the one in Empire, it's still a pretty damn good duel, especially with all the undertones and the symbolism. Of course, there are a couple of scenes where the remastered version makes the film less enjoyable, like the mouth of the Sarlacc pit, which looks extremely silly because there was never a mouth to begin with. It was just a gaping hole filled with teeth. And honestly, that looked way better. This weird animated mouth just looks stupid. And then, I'm trying not to get mad. Or you know what, I don't even care. There isn't a more infamous example of them fucking up the movie with anything digitally remastered than the replacement of the original actor for Anakin Skywalker for Hayden Christensen at the end of the film. I don't even care if the complaint's overdone. It pisses me off too much to where I need to mention it. And while the cinematography is still really good, there are certain shots that I notice that don't make really much sense, or they're shot in kind of a weird way. Things focus maybe a little off-center in a strange way, and even some of the shots look like they've been shot from far away while being zoomed in. Once again, the score is composed by the great John Williams, and while I love this score as well, Jedi's score is actually my least favorite of the original trilogy. And that's not because it's a bad score, it's really not a bad one, it's still good, it's just not on the same level as Empire or the original. The music for Jedi is definitely different from both of the two that I just mentioned. The first one was more classic dramatic music, while Empire was a bit of a raunchy space opera. This score is kind of the odd man out, though, as I felt a really great progression from Star Wars and Empire. However, Return of the Jedi's score is a mixture, or does have the mixture of darkness with many comedic undertones and the strangeness that both other movies had, and it does actually help it set itself apart. To recap, Return of the Jedi is still a fun film, it just falters in a few areas. The performances are still good, the story's good, but falters every once in a while, just because of stupid reasons. The effects still hold up for the most part, and the cinematography is good with a few issues, and it still has a great score. As many issues as I found with it, I will always be able to continue watching it and enjoying it. I'm gonna give Return of the Jedi a 3.5 out of 5 reels. Thank you guys so much for watching and just listening to me ramble. So, what do you guys think of Return of the Jedi? Do you love it, hate it, indifferent, haven't seen it? What were its strengths? What were its weaknesses? Leave your opinions in the comment section down below, because I want to know your thoughts. I welcome new perspectives. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more reviews and content. There's always more to come. And for other ways to help support the channel, please check out in the description down below. Thanks once again, and farewell until the next video. Bye.
Bye.
She said bye.